Sun wants to know, I have a specialized tarmac with Ultegra 6870 Di2 and I can't get the drivetrain to work in the 34-tooth chainring and in the two smallest cogs in the back without rubbing on the front derailleur. I've tried adjusting the front derailleur trim and I still can't make it work. What am I doing wrong? You've brought up a feature that is new to Shimano's 6870 and 9070 front derailleurs that wasn't available on earlier versions of Di2. This feature is the front derailleur trim adjustment option. So let's start by going over the entire Di2 front derailleur tuning process as well as the trim function. Start by checking the position of the front derailleur relative to the large chainring when it is shifted into the small chainring. Make sure that the outer plate of the derailleur is parallel with the big chainring and is 1 to 3 millimeters above the tallest tooth on the big ring. Once you have the derailleur in position, tighten down the derailleur fixing bolt to between 5 and 7 Newton meters, then adjust the support bolt so that it touches the frame without moving the derailleur out of position. Now we'll set the low limit. Start by shifting the rear derailleur into the largest cog. Turn the 2 millimeter low limit screw clockwise to move the derailleur outboard and counterclockwise to move it inboard. You want to set the inner cage of the derailleur as close to the chain as possible without rubbing. Shimano calls for just 0.5 millimeters of clearance between the chain and derailleur cage. With your inner limit set, shift the front derailleur to the big ring and the rear derailleur to the small cog. Turn the 2 millimeter high limit screw clockwise to move the derailleur outboard and counterclockwise to move it inboard. You want to set the inner cage of the derailleur as close to the chain as possible without rubbing. Shimano calls for between 0.5 millimeters and 1 millimeter of clearance between the chain and derailleur cage. For the trim adjustment, with the front derailleur still shifted into the big ring, shift the rear derailleur into the big cog. This is the gear combination that Shimano says you should be in to adjust the trim function. I realize it's counterintuitive, but I can assure you that that's the way it should be. Put the system in adjustment mode by pushing the adjustment button on the A junction box and then use the front shifter buttons to move the derailleur cage until the inner cage plate is between 0 and 0.5 millimeters away from the chain. That's it. There's no requirement to adjust trim at the other extreme with the chain shifted into the small chainring and the smallest cog. And something to remember as you make these adjustments is that your frame's geometry can affect how well your drivetrain functions when cross-chained in the small gear combo. Shimano says that 415 millimeter long chainstays are required in order to prevent the front derailleur from rubbing on the chain, or to prevent the chain from rubbing on the large chainring in the 3411 gear combo. Shimano also says that chainstays must be at least 405 millimeters long in order to achieve optimal shifting. Your tarmac is right at 405 millimeters, so it's likely impossible that you'll get this gear combo to work without any rubbing at all. But look on the bright side, you have a duplicate gear midway up the cassette when shifted into the big ring. You'll just have to make a few shifts to get there. If you want your question asked on Ask a Mechanic, presented by Cyclery, send your inquiry to webletters@competitorgroup.com.